flipping and wholesaling houses in New York show. Let me move the mic closer. I'm Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses. What is that mess? Or if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. Wow, something is screwed up with Facebook. I hope this is live. I don't know. Okay. So the question today is, what document shows a property is owned free and clear? So first, let's explain what that means, why that's important, and then I'll actually tell you what document you can look for. So free and clear usually means that there's no liens on it, no mortgage on it. Now that's important when you're buying a property because anytime you buy a property from a seller, they have to pay off the mortgage, and if they owe more than you're willing to pay, that's a problem. You could do a short sale where the seller agrees to take less. But in general, free and clear properties with no liens on them, with no mortgages or no other liens, we'll talk more about that soon, are going to be easier buys because whatever you're paying the seller is going to go straight to his pocket. So the question is, how do you find that out? So it's really different in every state and every county, but the real simple answer is it's a title report. Right? Title report runs the liens and checks it. But in many, many areas, including Nassau County, New York, you can go onto a website and check the recorded documents. Now, if you don't know what these mean, they may seem like another language to you. I can look at them pretty quickly and figure it out. But what happens in general is that a mortgage is taken and then a satisfaction of mortgage is filed. That means it's over. So if the last few things showing up on a property search are satisfactions of mortgage with no new mortgage, right? Because sometimes you refinance and that means you get a satisfaction and take a new mortgage, then everything, it might be on free and clear. Now you have to look at what other things that are recorded. There could be other liens on the property that are recorded, but you can see that in a lot of counties on the county clerk's website. Suffolk County, another county I deal with, is not as easy. It's problematic. You can go there and you can sort of see what's there, but you can't really see the actual documents. In Nassau County and most counties, you can actually go in and see the document and see what it is. That's much, much, much more helpful. Now, one of the greatest things about New York that nobody talks about, because at the risk of being immodest, I am the only guy, I think, on the planet who operates a real estate investment business in New York and actually teaches how to do it. But one of the greatest things about New York is that every time you buy a property here, you are buying it free and clear. Because in New York, the title company's job is to make sure that everything is being sent clear. Now, you may say, well, what if both parties agree to leave a lien in place? Now, that happens almost never. And in general, that is the subject to situation. So you might have seen something about buying property subject to. What that means, and it works in 49 states, is that a seller has a mortgage in place, will sell the property subject to the first lien, which means the buyer buys the property but doesn't pay off the mortgage and assumes responsibility for paying off the mortgage. I don't want to get into the details of what happens if the buyer doesn't pay the mortgage. Why would a seller do that? That's a whole nother discussion. But it happens. It works. It makes sense in 49 states. It doesn't happen in New York. Now, can it happen in New York? Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. But the reason why it almost never happens in New York is because you may have heard of something called an investor-friendly title company, and that applies in 49 states. Or a title company in 49 states, other than New York, is going to run the transaction. And a title company doesn't usually care whether a mortgage stays in place if both parties agree to keep it in place. In New York, there's no such thing as an investor-friendly title company in New York because you need an investor-friendly attorney in New York. Now remember, a real estate transaction in 49 states takes place between a buyer and a seller. Seller wants to sell, buyer wants to buy, buyer can produce a contract and technically be in contract. Very easy to get into. In New York, that transaction takes place between a seller's attorney, who generates the contract, and a buyer's attorney. So after a seller says yes to me, I need their attorney to then send my attorney a contract, and then a negotiation takes place between the two attorneys. So the attorneys are really the ones that are creating controlling the transaction. And a title company is there basically as a service provider to do two things: to make sure all liens are paid off, which is why they will not allow a mortgage to stay in place, and to make sure the taxes are paid off, which can be complicated in New York. There are areas where there's 4 different taxes that have to be paid: school tax, county tax, general taxes, then there's village tax. These things happen all the time. So because of that, you have 2 problems with doing a subject to deal in New York. Number one is the seller is almost always represented by an attorney, and I cannot imagine an attorney alive today that would agree to allow his client to sell his property and have someone else responsible to make the payments. And if he doesn't make the payments, it's going to hurt his credit. I would say, without it being a big stretch, that if I was an attorney and I advised my client to do that because it seemed like it was in the client's best interest, and then the buyer stopped making payments and screwed up my client's credit, I could get sued for malpractice. So in other states, there is no attorney representing the seller. In New York, there is. So number one, very hard. Number two, the title company, if you go to a closing and tell the title company, hey, don't worry about that mortgage, we're just going to keep it in place. Title company is going to say, no freaking way. There's a due on sale clause. Now I know I've seen, and there are great people who do subject to, and subject to works. And if you're going to be an honest guy and make the payments, then go for it in 49 other states. But whenever we talk about the due on sale clause, which means basically in any loan, mortgage, it says if you sell the property, you got to pay me off. I'm speaking from the mortgage perspective. There is no way to really avoid that. Okay, so I've seen, and there are great people out there who teach us method like Pace Morby. And when he gets into how to avoid the due on sale clause, he doesn't avoid the due on sale clause. All he does is find ways so that the old lender doesn't know you sold the property. So legally, you do have to pay it off. Again, I have no problem if you tell me you do subject to deals in 49 other states. In very, very, very many cases, they are great deals. They help both parties. They help the seller. They help the buyer. Everything is great. But don't for a second think that you really can avoid the due on sale clause. You can circumvent the due on sale clause. You can not let the lender know that the property was sold. Don't change the insurance information, things like that. That's fine. I don't care. But you're not avoiding it. Technically, legally, you're supposed to pay off that mortgage when you sell a property. That's it. Again, I have no problem. I have no problem. If I worked in other states, I'd have no problem doing subject to loans. I don't think you're going. No one's gonna. They're not sending the FBI out for you if you're making payments on the mortgage. But understand that in New York, where a title company is simply providing a service, they're going to pay off that loan. They're going to make sure that loan is paid off, and they're going to look at you like you have four heads if you say, "Hey, seller agreed to leave it in place." So this title report, which is really something that I run on every property that I go into contract on, is going to run a complete lien search. Usually that means, believe it or not, sending a physical person to the county site to do searches to see what's going on there, what is recorded. And that paper comes back and tells you. Now, again, one of the greatest things about New York is you don't really have to worry about that before you get into contract. And that's why title is run after contract. But I remember I went to see a really good guy named Lee Carney down in Florida. He was buying like 50 properties a month via auction. He had to run some kind of title report before he bought it. Because in other states, especially Florida I know, they sell properties subject to liens. So if some borrower had a tax lien for $100,000 and you buy the property and you think it's free and clear, and then you find out later as a tax lien, you're stuck with that tax lien on the property when you want to sell it. So in other states, you have to run they have short form title, quick title. Sometimes it's very easy to run. But the real answer to this question of what document shows a property is owned free and clear is the title report, right? Because it's not just mortgages, other liens, again, but you may be able to do a quick search online in your county. It is possible. I know in Nassau County it's possible, but understand things get screwed up. So sometimes a loan gets paid off and a mortgage satisfaction isn't filed. I'm closing on something this week where there's a mortgage open from 1966. Now, they know that it was paid off because it never went to foreclosure. There was never a list pendants filed. If something's over 30 years old, usually just an affidavit that it was paid off at work. But you might have something 20 years ago where you refinanced and you didn't pay it off, and then the title company's going to want to get into the nitty gritty. And sometimes the lender shut down. Sometimes the lender is not cooperative. Sometimes the lender doesn't have good records. And it becomes a huge pain in the ass, which is what title companies come in to try and help you with. Try and get the things paid, get everything paid off. So the real answer to this question is a title report, but in many, many counties you can search online and see what's going on. Now, another little trick that I'll tell you is that if there are taxes that are unpaid on a property, it usually means it's owned free and clear, because if there is a first mortgage holder, they would be paying the taxes. Most of the time, because they're escrowed, right? So when you take a mortgage, you pay your taxes in your payment. But even if you decide not to escrow, most first lien mortgage holders will make sure the taxes are paid, because if they don't pay the taxes are a prior lien to them. They could lose the house to the municipality. So if something has unpaid property taxes, it usually means it's owned free and clear. Not always, but usually. So I hope this was helpful. If you want to know all the ways I can help you go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you are interested in finding more about the course I have that teaches how to do this, go to howtoflipnewyorkcourse.com. And if you are interested in finding out more about one-on-one coaching I have, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any channel, please click the thumbs up. The likes really help me. And please keep the comments coming. I go live 5 times a week, and I don't always know what to say. Comments give me things to say. It doesn't even have to be about this topic that you're watching. If it's a quick comment, I'll just reply. If it's something I've handled before, I'll send you a link to a video. And if it's something new, I will do a new video on it. So thank you very, very much for watching.